Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Action Network Soccer Betting Preview Show. My name is Michael Leboff. I am the soccer editor here at Action, and today I am joined by two of our brightest soccer analysts, Anthony Dabbundo of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and BJ Cunningham, coming to us live from Davenport, Iowa. Gentlemen, there is an international break on the horizon. That is very sad, but before we get to that, we have a delicious slate of soccer matches across Europe this weekend. And there is a clear headliner, of course, the Saturday 12:30 p.m. kickoff at Anfield between Liverpool and Chelsea, two undefeated teams, two title contenders. I would say neither one have been truly tested yet, but you got to beat whatever team's put in front of you, and they've both done it in impressive fashion. Liverpool plus 150 home favorite, Chelsea coming back at plus 190. And the draw is sitting at plus 230 at the moment. How do you think you're going to handicap this match between these two titans?
Yeah, for me, it really comes down to a stylistic matchup here. Liverpool's going to probably have most of the ball. They're playing at home. Chelsea, when they've played these big games against Manchester City and Liverpool in the years past, or in the last year since Thomas Tuchel took over, they've been more inclined to sit deeper and look to counter. And they've really worked. I mean, they beat City 3 times, only conceding a goal in one of those matches in the spring. And then they beat Liverpool 1-0 as well in the spring when they made their charge to the top 4. So for me, I think Chelsea really impressed, and their ability to kind of control the middle of the field and force Liverpool to go out wide for almost all their production and just swing in crosses to no one was really effective last season. And then they hit them on the break one time, almost had a couple more goals through Timo Werner on the counter. A couple were ruled offside, and I believe a foul called one back via VAR. So there was a lot of close calls, but Chelsea really completely stymied them up front. Liverpool, like you mentioned, hasn't really played any notable team they beat Norwich and Burnley, good for them, but not really notable wins. Now a much tougher challenge. I know they're at home, but I like Chelsea plus 110 or better on the draw no bet line. Chelsea, for me, best team in the league, on form since pretty much March, and they've really rolled into the season, and they're a really well-oiled counter-attacking team with Lukaku running into space, Havertz running into space, playing some passes. So I think they're going to be really tough to break down and really tough on the counterattack.
Yeah, we always talk about in the beginning of seasons, whether it's soccer or any other sport, teams maybe looking at a sink or teams that are slow starters. This Chelsea team, it looks like they took a 2-week vacation and then that's it. And they got right back into gear with this Thomas Tuchel revolution, because they have not missed a beat. They're near the top of the table in expected points, expected goals for, expected goals against. I think that there's some value backing Chelsea on the money line. I'm definitely, this is one of those matches where your numbers might not show that much value, but everyone's going to be betting it. 12:30 kickoff on Saturday, NBC. It's everybody's who watches soccer is going to be watching this game. So the market could move one way or the other. We don't know. But I think no matter what, at this point, especially at plus 190, I like Chelsea.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with the Chelsea play. For me, I think that this is properly priced. With Liverpool, I think we have a little bit of unknown because of last year with all 3 of their top center backs being hurt for pretty much all the season, and now whole season now getting all 3 of those back, including Virgil van Dijk, who's one of the best center backs in the world. So I think it's a little bit of a feeling out point. Where is Liverpool the team that we saw during the 2019-20 campaign winning the Premier League, or are they closer to the team that kind of regressed last season? I don't think we really know that. I mean, obviously Chelsea's been unbelievable under Tuchel. I mean, defensively, they're only allowing 0.6 expected goals per match. So for me, I think that it is sort of fairly priced. I don't have a problem playing Chelsea in this one, but I think what we're going to really find out is Liverpool actually a title contender along with Chelsea and Manchester City, or is it just a 2-horse race between Man City and Chelsea? But it's going to be a very interesting match. I'm excited about it.
The way the show has been working, we'll give out our favorite EPL bet. Then we'll go to continental Europe. We'll give out our favorite bet in the other major leagues. And then we will wrap things up with our favorite underdog of the week. We'll tell you how much the parlay costs. Don't expect those to hit. We're combined like 1-6 or so, 1-5 to start. That's kind of to be expected with the prices we're handing out. But of course, if we are grinding your gears, let us know about it in the comments. We apologize for every loser, and we will celebrate every winner. BJ, we'll start with you. What is your favorite EPL bet this weekend, and why is it Brighton?
Well, I do love Brighton. I am going to be betting them, but I actually like Newcastle. Draw no bet at home at -110 on Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern against Southampton. I spoke about Newcastle a little bit on the preview pod, but their offensive numbers weren't great last year, but two of their main attacking players, Callum Wilson and Alan St. Maximin, weren't on the field that much together, only 17 of their 38 matches. With them on the field, they averaged 1.3 expected goals per match. Without them on the field, only 1.04. And they had a second half revelation on offense as well, with Joe Willett coming over from Arsenal on loan, scoring 8 goals in 14 appearances. He made his season debut last week against Aston Villa, so he'll be in their starting 11 going forward. They did lose 2-0 to Aston Villa last weekend, but if we look at non-penalty expected goals, it was actually pretty close. Newcastle 0.17 to Aston Villa's 0.59. And Newcastle actually held 53% possession. So it was a much improved performance from their second half disaster against West Ham on opening weekend. And we spoke about Southampton a lot. I mean, they're just horrible. I mean, last season, they were one of the worst teams away from home, went 4-4-11 with a negative 13.424 expected goal differential. They just sold 2 of their best players, striker Danny Ings and center back Jannik Vestergaard, and things are not looking up for the Saints right now. First 2 matches, they've been outcreated 4.65 expected goals to 1.17. So I think this is a good buy low spot on Newcastle, who have lost their first 2 matches on draw no bet at -110. And I'd play anything up to -125.
Wolves and Manchester United, both teams to score yes, -115. Wolves have been really unlucky. If you look at their attacking numbers, and it's not just expected goals, but overall, they're 6th most pass into the penalty area. I think this may be 7th now. They were 5th best in allowing or at preventing opponents from passing into their penalty area. It's very different from the Nuno ball we saw for the last 2 seasons in the Premier League, where they really were kind of a defend deep, don't allow big chances and counterattack side. Well, now they're actually contesting the midfield much more. They're doing an excellent job of getting the ball into the final third, getting the ball into the penalty area. They look like they're a team that potentially could be in the top half of the table based on those numbers. They just haven't come off for goals yet. They've had a lot of chances. They pretty much ran even in expected goals with Tottenham last week, and that was despite allowing a penalty, 1.4 to 1.5. And then against Leicester on the opening day, they were the better side for most of that game and lost on 1 chance and 1 goal of Vardy. So for me, they played 2, what I would consider the top 6 or 7 teams in the league, and they've played even or better with both of them. Now they're getting Manchester United at home. United's looked vulnerable in transition. They looked really vulnerable, allowing chances to Southampton when they lost or pressured up high up the pitch, but Southampton likes to do. Wolves doing a little bit more of that. I think Wolves will be able to get on the board here. And again, United's attack has been pretty good so far, despite not playing their best attackers. A little bit reliant on set pieces against Southampton, but has been pretty impressive in open play too, especially against Leeds, which we saw. Obviously, they had the 5-goal outburst, and then last week against Southampton created 3 or 4 big chances they probably should have put away, but did not. So I'm expecting both teams to get on the board here, and I like that as my favorite play of the weekend.
This could be a little biased, but I think Everton plus 210 is pretty good value this weekend. They are on the road, but people keep talking about the problems with Everton, and they are legitimate issues, but they are more season-long problems, I think, than game-by-game issues, right? They might not have the squad depth to contend for a top 6 spot, but right now they have a pretty healthy team. Their best 11 is better than Brighton's, no matter what the numbers we want to say. Like, to a man, there's more talent on this Everton team, and their numbers under Rafa so far have been encouraging. They're 5th in expected goals for, they're 4th in expected goals against. Yes, small sample size, but I mean, you look at 2 of the 3 goals they've allowed so far, both came from Michael Keane howlers. Take those 2 mistakes out, Everton have allowed 1 goal against as a direct incident of Michael Keane being drunk or something. I just think, the market's high on Brighton for a reason, but I think a little bit too high. I think, anything better than 2-1 on Everton in this match is worth a play. And I'm generally, just as a fan, encouraged by the way that they've started this season. BJ, where are you looking for your favorite, non-EPL, your favorite European bet for this weekend?
I'm gonna go to Italy with Serie A. Roma versus Salernitana. This is Sunday at 2:45 Eastern. I spoke about Salernitana on our preview pod. They're one of these teams that just disgust me. In Serie B last season, they're a newly promoted team. They had a negative 14.29 expected goal differential, which is almost impossible to think that they gained automatic promotion. Their top striker, Gennaro Tutino, scored 13 of their 46 goals. He was a loanee from Napoli. His loan has ended. They don't have a capable replacement for him. And last week, they played just a chaotic match against Bologna, 3-2, all 5 goals coming in the second half, 2 red cards, just show that their defense is just horrendous. And Roma, me and Anthony kind of caught on to this last season, but they just obliterate teams below them in the table. Last season, they went 17-4-5 against teams below them in the table with a plus 1.1 expected goal differential per match. They just signed Tammy Abraham from Chelsea. He started in their first match against Fiorentina, got 2 assists, drew the red card in their 3-1 win. Just another genius managerial performance from Jose Mourinho. So I think this is just going to be Roma in a rout. So I love their spread -1 at plus 105, and I'd play anything up to -120.
I'll go next. I like Athletic Bilbao plus 210 against Celta Vigo. That's an 11 a.m. kickoff on Saturday. Bilbao is the definition of low event right now. 1 goal scored, 1 goal allowed in 2 games. Their expected goals 2.1 about 4, right around that mark against. But this should set up for them to be able to score. Celta Vigo, second to last season in La Liga, or this season in expected goals against. They were in the bottom third in that category last season. And Bilbao's offensive numbers last season were right around mid-table, but their defensive metrics, they were near the top of La Liga, like 3rd best expected goals against in the entire division. We know what to expect, I feel like, out of Athletic Bilbao, right? Like, if you're new to soccer, they have a transfer policy where they don't buy players. They basically only develop players from the Basque country. And then those players then will leave if they're good enough, stay forever if they're not. So their ceiling is kind of capped, but their floor is also not that low. And they're going to finish between 6th and 12th basically every season. That's much better, I think, than what we'll see out of Celta Vigo. So I like the plus 210. That's an 11 a.m. kickoff on Saturday.
Yeah, give me Cagliari +1, plus 135 against AC Milan. Milan, I watched back their game against Sampdoria. I was not impressed at all. No Frank Kessie, no Ismail Benacer in the midfield for them against Sampdoria, and they really struggled to get control of the match. They won 1-0. They were outshot. Expected goals was pretty much about even. I'm just really selling, and I've been selling Milan for a while now. Really faded them hard end of last season, looked to go against them. They blew their title chances and almost fell out of the top 4 on the final day before they snuck in. Milan didn't do a ton to improve in the offseason, so I'm really looking to go against them again continually. And Cagliari impressed me against Spezia. They they ended up with a draw at the very end of the game, but they won the match on expected goals 2.7 to 0.8. They completely dominated it. It just had a couple of flukes go against them. Overall, early in the season, don't like to overreact to one match for either team, but Cagliari on the road here, think they can get this to a tie, at worst a push, but we'll see. But yeah, Cagliari is my +1, plus 135 is where I'm going for my European pick of the weekend.
Let's just quickly run down our EPL betting card for the weekend. Like I said, I like Everton plus 210. I like Chelsea on the money line. I like the Man City team total over. I also kind of like the -1.5, -130 if that price comes down. I just think they're going to blow Arsenal out. The Gunners' defensive numbers are abysmal. I like Newcastle plus 145, and I like Wolves 4-1, and I'll get to more of that in the next segment.
I mean, I love Brighton once again, plus 135 at home. They've looked amazing through their first 2 matches, and they can get 9 points and go to the top of the table. If Liverpool and Chelsea ends in a draw. Like I mentioned, Newcastle draw no bet at -110. West Ham -1 at plus 105. They've looked awesome through the first 2 matches. And Crystal Palace, they have a ton of offensive issues right now. And I'm in agreement with you on Wolves, plus half a goal at plus 125 against Manchester United.
I came so close to pulling the trigger on the Wolves plus a half as well. I show a little bit of value on that. So don't hate that pick, but I went with both teams to score instead in the Manchester United against Wolves game. I'm also on the Brighton train. Brighton -0.25 goal at even money. Love that pick. I've been on them the first 2 weeks. I'm going to be on them again. Might bet them all 38 matches. We'll see. Newcastle, probably not. Newcastle draw no bet at -110 as well. Way too cheap. I'm a Southampton fader. I've got relegation futures on them. I've got unders on them. They've looked pretty abysmal the first 2 weeks. Scored 2 goals, 1 on deflection, 1 on a critical defensive error by Michael Keane, as Michael mentioned before. And Chelsea draw no bet at plus 110. Just really don't think there should be Chelsea as an underdog against anybody in the league anywhere right now. My projections make them even money with Liverpool at Anfield. So I'm going to take the plus money at plus 110 there, even though it's not a huge edge. I really like Chelsea in that matchup.
Drum roll, please. We will give out our favorite underdogs across all of Europe. BJ, let's start with you. What losing bet are you giving out this week?
I'm going to go with Espanyol plus 215 in La Liga. This is on Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Two newly promoted teams. They're playing Mallorca. So it means we can go back into the Segundo division and see what their numbers were. Espanyol was by far the best team, plus 24.3 expected goal differential, while Mallorca was only plus 13.02. Espanyol's done some good business in the transfer market, bringing in a couple loanees from Villarreal and Real Betis to improve their starting 11. And they were really impressive last week against Villarreal. Drew 0-0, but won the expected goals battle 1.79 to 0.63. And they actually beat Mallorca 2-1 on the road last season. So I like their price at plus 215. And I also love the over 2 goals at minus 110. Both teams averaged over 2.5 expected goals last season in the second division. So a little double there. Espanyol plus 215 and the over 2 goals at minus 110.
We spent a lot of time talking about Wolverhampton. I like Wolverhampton. This team's been a little unlucky. They've had a tough start in terms of their schedule. They're playing under a new manager. They look good. I mean, they're the type of team that so far, if you're more of an eye test person, they are passing those tests. And they're passing some analytics tests too. I think that, Manchester United, 27, they're going for the record of most unbeaten games on the road consecutively, 27. I think it sits at right now. I think that streak has a pretty good chance to end despite Wolverhampton being pretty big underdogs.
Yeah, I'm going against Mainz. They had an opening day win against Leipzig, very impressive performance, but I think that was more of a matter of Leipzig being really flat first game of the season, kind of catching them in a really good spot than it was Mainz being particularly good. And then they lost to Bochum in their second game. I was on them and I lost. So now that I'm fading them, they'll probably win against Greuther Fürth, who I actually watched their entire game last week against Arminia Bielefeld. Could not believe that they did not win the game. They were completely dominant, had over 2 expected goals, had a goal called back because of VAR. Played up a man for the last half hour, still could not get the job done. But this is the time for them to get it done. It's been a tough year for me so far in the Bundesliga, but plus 370 on the Firth. I like them a lot. My projections get them down to plus 320. So I like them down to probably plus 340, 345 before I'd probably say, let's hold off on Firth. But for me, been impressed by their first 2 performances, at least their second performance. First one was pretty bad. So I'm going to roll with Firth there. Probably not going to win. Like we mentioned, I've had 2 draws on my first 2 money line underdogs. So I'm going to get one to go my way eventually. And we're going with Greuther Fürth plus 370. That Anthony, plays on Saturday at 9:30.
It's going to win. Let's have some positivity. Okay. we might be 0-6, but you know what? Things are going to turn around. We're due, right?
Gladbach and Augsburg both came really close in the last 5 minutes of winning both of those games. So I'm confident that Greuther Fürth will have a big chance in the 90th minute and miss it to cash the money line.
And Tottenham was just incredibly lucky last weekend. So we really actually won, Wolves. So
yeah. Well, that's the old better credo, right? Like I lost because of the bad luck and I win because I handicapped it correctly.
Exactly.
And plus, look, we might be 0-6 on the underdogs, but we hit all 3 of these. You parlay them at 73-1. So all of a sudden you're going out for a steak dinner on Sunday night after watching all these soccer matches. So that'll do it. We've got unfortunately an international break, so we won't see you guys for another fortnight. Enjoy the footy.